Hello, Syngap land. My name is Michael Graglia. Today is Tuesday, April 15th. Happy tax day. And this is episode 169 of Syngap 10, the Syngap 1 podcast. Let's start with current news. Current news is that Sprint4SynGAP is around the corner, like in 11 days. It's in 11 days. And we have already raised $167,000 in advance of it through sponsorships and early donations. Guess how much of that came from the mighty Tavilla family in Boston? Over $145,000. I see you, Stella and Sharon, and all the Tavillas. You guys are amazing. So we've raised already $168,979 in total. We're going to raise more leading up to the event in the next 11 days and on the day of the event. This is our chance, you guys, to raise money and fund more research in the spring. This is our chance to let our communities know about Syngap. This is our chance to let people realize that our kids need help. They need community. They need to be loved and taken care of. And this help is on the way, and that we're making better medicine. So congratulations to everybody for Sprint. It is an act of faith and hope to raise money via a fundraiser, and awesome work. I'm very proud of you. I also want to thank our new board. Speaking of the Tavillas, so we have 4 people coming into the board, all parents. As usual, SRF is led and governed by parents and staffed by parents. Jaime Aranda has joined us. Steve Gore, Heather Mestemaker, and Brian Smith have all joined the board. Some of those folks have been around for a while. Some of them are newly diagnosed. It's a great group of 4 new parents who will come in and help run SRF, help make the critical decisions and the funding decisions. And that's fundamental to what we do, right? SRF is not a one-person show or a small group of people show. We are constantly churning at every level to make sure that everybody who's in this community that wants to know more and wants to understand how we do business comes in and can take a close look. Why does that matter? Because we want to earn your trust, right? Why do we want to earn your trust? Because we want your blood, your sweat, your treasure. We want you to donate blood. We want you to work. We want you to donate money. And when it's go time for trials, we want you to know us and trust us, because we're going to call you and say, hey, there's a trial, you should enroll, and you should enroll. But anyway, thank you to those 4 people for joining the board. It's a lot of work. And thank you to these people who are leaving the board after moving mountains. Emily Barnes has done so much for SRF. Just an incredible supporter, has gone to many meetings, raised a lot of money. Thank you, Emily. Pavel Garovich. One day I'm going to give awards, and I am going to call one of those awards the Pavel, for people who just get things done without making any noise at all. Pavel's amazing. Sydney Stelmazik is part of the Cannonball and has done many other things. Sydney and her son Emmett have been just a part of the fabric of SRF. And Stella Tavilla, I can't say enough nice things about enough Tavilla. And there's so many Tavillas. It's like I have a little cheat sheet just to keep track of them. Anyway, thank you to the outgoing board members. Thank you to the incoming board members. This is great news. Guys, it's all about learning about Syngap 1, especially as trials are around the corner. We have to understand as much as we can about this disease. And yesterday, Dr. Jillian McKee, MD, PhD, she's got both, did an amazing webinar giving us an update about what they're learning at CHOP. So basically, they froze the data that they're getting from the natural history study, I think at 98 patients, and Dr. McKee gave just an incredible overview of what they're learning, and the Q&A was fabulous. And we were waiting to do this webinar until her paper came out, and she just had a paper come out in Medicine and Genetics that I actually put on the cover of episode 167, so 2 episodes ago. But go ahead and watch that webinar. It is essential watching for every Syngap parent. Link is in the show notes. It is the latest and greatest about Syngap 1 directly from one of the doctors in America who probably knows more about Syngap than almost any other doctor, except for the other doctors involved in the natural history study. And so we have Dr. Abbott at Children's Colorado, which I mistakenly called CHOC in the last episode. It is not CHOC, it is Children's Colorado. Lauren very politely corrected me, and I will never screw that up again. So we have Dr. McKee at CHOP working with Dr. Helbig. We have Dr. Abbott at Children's Colorado working with Dr. Demarest, and we have Dr. Juliette Knowles, who's the PI over at Stanford Children's Hospital. And Dr. Knowles is just a recognized expert in epilepsy in general. Indeed, there were some podcasts lately that she put out, or a podcast, I should say, lately that she put out that was all just about seizures in general. And if you want to get to know Dr. Knowles and just understand a little better about epilepsy, these are well worth watching. So I share the Apple Link podcast and the YouTube link to that discussion with her. She's really top shelf. We're so lucky to have Dr. McKee, Dr. Abbott, and Dr. Knowles, and just we're very lucky as a community to have them. The other thing about learning, guys, is we have to learn from each other. We have to learn from the other neurodevelopmental diseases. And Phelan-McDermott syndrome, also known as SHANK3, is one of the big kids, right? So I often talk about Rett, Dravet, and Angelman as the big kids, but there's also Phelan-McDermott syndrome and others that are in there. So maybe I'm going to add them and call them the big four. Anyway, point is, Megan Boyle, who is one of the leaders in rare, like when Ashley and I started SRF and started going to meetings, like lost children, like what's going on? Who are these people? Megan Boyle was one of the first people to be kind to us, to share her knowledge and her wisdom. She really is one of the wise leaders in this community. And unfortunately, Megan's daughter passed 2 years ago. She got into a catatonic state. She had a fall. She was hospitalized, and in the hospital, she passed from acquired infections. Not hard to imagine that happening to one of our kids. And one of the things that Phelan-McDermott, unfortunately, and one of the things that Phelan-McDermott syndrome has been doing is been talking about catatonia in their kids as they get older. And one of the things some SynGAP parents are starting to wonder out loud is, are our kids getting into catatonic states or hyperactive catatonic states as they get older? And that's an important question, and we don't know the answer. I'm not saying they do. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying it's interesting. It happens in SHANK3. Maybe it happens to us. SHANK3, Phelan-McDermott, interchangeable. But so I share a LinkedIn post from Megan Boyle where she talks about her daughter, and she talks about the importance of learning about catatonia. And she thanks the Autism Science Foundation and other neurodevelopmental groups for working together to do this 6 episode series on catatonia. And I urge you guys to go to this link, to thank her for sharing, because she's really, her daughter's passed, she's back in it, she's fighting for all our children, and to watch that YouTube video to better understand catatonia. I think this is something a question we're going to have to answer. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know we're going to have to answer it. And so learn, because as our kids get older, the phenotype changes and evolves, right? That's an important point to internalize as well. Anyway, back to the show notes. So catatonia, watch that. Thank Megan for sharing. I also, in episode 168, the previous episode, I said something that I really wanted you guys to respond to, and I shared just 1 minute from that episode, and the link's in the show notes about ASO questions, right? And in that, I said, if there was a trial tomorrow, would you sign up, and what would your questions be? And a lot of you wrote back to that and wrote in the comments, yes, see, yes, whatever. Great, wonderful, glad to hear it. But really, what are your questions? If I asked you tomorrow to get into a car or plane to drive to Medical Center X and to anesthetize your child and stick a needle in their spine, would you have any questions? If so, ask them now. And I'll tell you, there was a little discussion in one of the posts on this, and someone was like, well, what is an ASO? And someone's like, well, it's going to repair the gene so it can make more things. No, it's not going to repair the gene. Okay, so we need to have these conversations right now. So let's just talk about this. An ASO is a small molecule that we make, and then we stick in the spinal column to get into the fluid in the spinal column that gets it into the brain. Why don't we put it in the mouth like all the other drugs we take? Because if it goes in the mouth, it goes to the tummy. It goes to the tummy, it goes to the blood. It goes to the blood, it goes to the liver. And then a tiny, tiny bit gets to the brain, like aspirin. Can't do that. Too expensive. What we need to do is we need to get it directly to the brain. Since we don't want to drill holes in skulls, the way we get it into the brain is we just stick a needle into the spinal column, and it goes up the cerebral spinal fluid, and it gets into the brain that way. So that's how we deliver ASOs. But when they get there, what do? 2 important points. Important point number 1, it is a drug that gets used up as it does its job, which means you have to come back in 3 or 4 months for another shot. And that's good. That's a good thing, right? Because it gives us time to learn if we gave too much, too little, and to adjust the dose. Because this is novel medicine. This is new stuff. Okay. So point 1 goes in the spinal column. Point 2, it gets used up and you got to come back for more. And that's good news. Point 3, and this is the one I want to make. The ASO is not repairing your gene. It is not going in and correcting the typo. That is prime editing. That is gene therapy. That is next generation. That's not happening soon. The trials that I expect us to be doing soon, like 1 or 2 years, would be an ASO trial. Instead, what it's going to do is it's basically going to go in and it's going to say, hey, body, make the SynGAP gene make more protein. There's a lot of ways it can do that. It can go in and it can do, I'm not going to get into the science, but there's different ways that an ASO can do this. But what it does essentially is it makes the body make the SynGAP gene work harder to make more protein. And it's going to make the good copy make more, and it's going to make the bad copy make more. The bad copy's not making any, that's why we're sick. So having it, 2 times 0 is still 0, not a big deal. But by making both copies make more, the good copy, which makes 1, is now going to make closer to 2. And that could basically solve the problem, right? Now, if you have a mutation that is making a little bit or is making misfolded ones, separate conversation. But for the protein truncating variants, the frame shifts, the nonsense, right? We want an ASO to get in there and make the good copy, the wild type allele in science speak, the good copy make more. So ask me your ASO questions, guys. Keep those coming. We have to have this conversation now. We have to take the time to learn about these things now so that when it's go time, we're already educated. I also want to, thinking about episode 168, I talked about Dr. Bowie and Dr. Willsey and how they're both doing work and have done work with SRF support. Thank you to our donors and like the Tavillas. And now they're both doing more work with other people's support. So that's living the dream, guys. That's how we do what we do. We invest in great scientists, and then more good things come. Same thing has happened with Dr. Postilla. And Dr. Postilla basically, he and his postdoc Aaliyah got more money to work on SynGAP Missense. But he wrote this article about why this is so important, why rare is not rare, and why we need to study these Missense mutants. Super important. Again, I share the LinkedIn post. Please go to that LinkedIn post. Thank him for sharing it. Read his article, especially if you're a Missense family. LinkedIn is where we can connect with these researchers and where we can thank them and acknowledge their hard work and help emphasize and underline how engaged this community is. So when I share these posts, it's not because, I have nothing better to do. It's because I really want to connect you, the SynGAP community, with these researchers who we have worked so hard to encourage, to fund, to support, to engage, to bring to our conferences. We invited Dr. Postilla, I think, to Nashville 2 years ago. And now he's out there writing an article to other scientists about why we all need to study SynGAP Missense. I mean, this is progress, guys. This is why SRF, this is why we do what we do. We also do what we do to help our families, right? Like I have 2 kids. I have Tony who's got SynGAP and I have John who doesn't have SynGAP. But John is 6 and he's honestly, I've mentioned this before, he's struggling. He's struggling with his brother having SynGAP and it's taken a toll on him. So I really love this project that we're doing about siblings. And I want to thank Ed and Paulina and everybody who are collecting all these resources online. There's the VIP sibling kit, links in the show notes. And there's just other siblings talking. And as John gets older, I'm going to let John watch these talks of other siblings and be like, look, that person's like you. This is how they're talking about it. This is how they're learning about it. So sharing these sibling stories is great. And if you have SynGAP siblings, point them to this link. If you just go to our website, I think it's under families, siblings, just click there. There's a bunch of links, a bunch of stories. Let them get to know other SynGAP siblings. Let them hear each other talk about this disease. Shanae Worth just shared a few years ago, and we got the YouTube and we put it on there. Thank you, Shanae, for sharing that. This is really, really exciting stuff, you guys. And I'm just really thrilled that we're building yet another resource to support our families. That pretty much brings me to the end. Now we're just at the reminders. Publication count, we're still at 17 for the year. We are in week 16, so we're getting closer to 1 a week, which is what I said would happen. Remember, we do have a biobank through Combined Brain. There's different places you can donate blood through the year. Links in the show notes. Check it out. If you're not volunteering with SRF, please do. LinkedIn, we're at 4,009 followers. Let's get that to 5,000. If you all shared an SRF post on LinkedIn and said, please follow this organization, they're helping my loved one, we would have more followers. YouTube, 1334, Twitter, Insta, whatever. Newly diagnosed. If you're newly diagnosed, you made it this far, well done. We have resources for you. syngap.fund/resources. Ed, we got to get a new link there. And then this, SynGAP Stories and Cafe Syngap Uno are all resources for the community. Please give us 5 stars. If you go to SYNGAP.1, curesyngap1.org/SRF Apple, you will go to our channel page on Apple Podcasts. I just clicked on that to see if it worked. Indeed, it does. And on that channel, you will find all three of our podcasts in Apple, and just if you're wondering, wow, was that a lot of work? Yeah, it was crazy. I can't tell you how much time it took to get that set up. Anyway, this has been episode 169 of SynGAP 10. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for fighting for a better future for our loved ones. It's working. It's working. This is just the stuff I could tell you about. There's so much going on, you guys. Keep going, keep raising money, keep connecting, keep contributing to this community by being a part of it, by supporting each other, by getting to know each other. The next few years are going to be incredibly exciting. Thank you.